Good evening. I'm Shalika De Silva on behalf of Samadhi Buddhist Foundation. I would like to welcome all of you to our this month's Clarity of Mind for Young Adults through Mindfulness session. So today our topic is Metta. That is, everyone knows it's loving and friendliness. So now I would like to invite our teacher, Venerable Panadure Chandarathana Thero, to guide us and just teach us the Buddha's teaching on metta and how we can cultivate in us, as well as how we can, practice it even without having any boundaries. Teruvan Saranai Bhante.
Yeah, Teruvan Saranai. Thank you very much, Shalika. So as she has mentioned, we hope to discuss metta meditation or loving kindness meditation today. So let me share my screen. I have a small presentation. So here, what I'm trying to tell is something most of you may already know. But anyway, for the completion of the subject, I have selected certain topics. So basically, first of all, I like to touch on how we can do it. And there are certain very easy statements can be used and in order to practice metta. So metta basically means that we have kind of a loving friendliness, loving kindness in our heart. And first of all to ourselves, and then we can develop or expand that kind of a nature, that kind of a feeling to everyone else. Now, why we need this? So we know that typically we have some sort of a connection with some animal realm. So we sometimes are not that kind to ourselves and not that kind to the others. Sometimes we are not empathetic to ourselves and not empathetic to the others. So likewise, so we still have that kind of a mean nature sometimes. And in order to avoid that, we need certain amount of kindness, loving kindness developed purposely. So in a way, our minds are inherently or originally we have some sort of this kind of a kindness. But unfortunately, because of the various reasons, we are in a way tarnishing it, we are in a way destroying it, or we are in a way removing it, and ultimately we are cultivating something entirely harmful to ourselves and something entirely harmful to the others. So that is why these four kinds of practices, Buddha mentioned four Brahma Viharas. So they are like divine abodes. So those are the Metta, Mudita, Karuna, Upekha. Metta is the loving kindness. Mudita is translated as altruistic joy. And Karuna is the compassion, and Upekha is the equanimity. So we hope to discuss all these four subjects in a series. And today we hope to put more attention on loving kindness. So loving kindness is a really uplifting kind of a meditation. And when we are cultivating it, at the beginning, we have to focus to ourselves and we have to imagine that I am getting well. So I am be happy, I'll be happy, may I be happy, may I be safe, may I be free from suffering. Now, these four statements I have selected, but you don't need to strictly follow that. You can either use this or you can even little change it, doesn't matter, because the idea is that you have to feel that you are loving yourself, or you are taking care of yourself, you are looking after yourself, you are sort of having that friendliness to yourself. So sometimes actually we like to punish ourselves, we are criticizing ourselves, we are blaming ourselves, we are angry with ourselves. So these are all different types of mentalities we sometimes go through, that all of you may come across. Assume that you did something wrong and made a kind of a mistake. So at that point, you are criticizing yourself and you are even blaming to yourself. I should not have done that. Why did I do that? So again and again, we are blaming ourselves. We are criticizing ourselves, condemning our activity. So that in a way creates a lot of negativity in our mind. But loving kindness, the opposite. So we admit that we have mistakes, we have shortcomings, probably we might have done something wrong. So we need to be sort of forgiving. And again, we have to be friendly with ourselves. We have to admit that we are not Superman, we are not a superwoman, kind of a hero, but rather a simple human being. And I have to be sympathetic to myself. And likewise, so we have kind of a feeling about ourselves. And this loving kindness is the sort of meditation helps us to develop that attitude, more positive attitude, more friendly attitude towards ourselves. So once we have developed that attitude towards ourselves, then we can use that attitude, that kind of a feeling, that kind of a wish to the others as well. So typically we start with someone we respect and assume that you have a very good teacher, you have a kind of a guidance, and someone you really respect, and you can assume that he is in front of you. And he is with a kind of a slight smile and with a very kind of an attractive way. He's in a more healthy kind of a way. So once you are looking at him or looking at her, so your mind becomes somewhat happy, even just by looking at him. So we have to imagine that he is even now is a good person. Actually, that's why we are selecting a good person. We are selecting someone respectable at the beginning. And then we do that meditation or that spreading of metta to that person and to the level that we have to ourselves. So it's a kind of a gradual process or gradual practice. So as I mentioned here, so we first of all do metta to ourselves, and then we recognize someone we respect, and that person has to be on the same sex. So there are certain other issues that if we select someone else who is with different sex or the opposite sex, then probably this loving kindness can turn into lustful kind of attraction. So that's why we are selecting the same sex person, and then we are wishing him well. And may he be well, may he be happy, may he be free from suffering. So likewise, we genuinely have to have this kind of feeling towards him. So as we continue to do that, so then we can actually feel that that person is getting well. And we can imagine that he is in the front and assume that you are sitting cross-legged and he is also sitting in the front. And he is also, because of your loving kindness, so he's also feeling calm, he's also feeling well, he's also becoming happy, serene. So likewise, so basically, this is somewhat conceptual kind of a meditation. It's a samatha meditation, tranquility meditation. So therefore, we have to do a little bit of adjustments in order to make it successful. So we are sort of spreading loving kindness towards that person, and that person is calming down, relaxing, and he's also feeling happy, satisfied, contented because of our spreading of metta. So we do this kind of an imaginary process at the beginning, and later it becomes kind of even natural. And suppose that you are able to spread metta to that person, as I mentioned, to the level of to yourself. Even sometimes you understand what is metta, you understand what is loving kindness through that person. Because sometimes when you are doing it to yourself, probably you couldn't recognize or you couldn't understand what is the real quality of metta. But when you do to that respectable person, then you feel that there is sort of a positive feeling that I have towards him. So I am mixing loving kindness to that positive feeling further, so that I have a real respect, I have a real loving kindness, real friendliness with him. So now you get some sort of a quality in yourself. You recognize there is a real positive quality being developed in my heart. So this is actually felt at the heart. And that feeling, now you, even if you like, you can select another respectable person that if you like, then you can further do it. So likewise, you can spread metta to several such people so that you're feeling more and more confident and more skillful in this activity. Then probably you can go for someone that you love, or you actually someone that you are close with. So that is also better. Select a same-sex person and someone you really, maybe to your good friend or someone you really like, you select, and then you do metta to that person. There's a little difference here. Now, why we select a kind of a respectable person at the very early stage? Because that helps us to develop loving kindness without any kind of a distortion. You know what happens is, now whenever if we select kind of a person we really like at the very beginning, so loving kindness might turn into some sort of a lustful attraction towards that person. So that's the little danger in the practice. So we need to therefore keep our direction or keep our boundary to the loving friendliness or loving kindness without distorting it, without sort of polluting that feeling to something harmful. Now we are keeping our mind extremely pure, and that has simply loving kindness, and we are able to spread that loving kindness to a person who is respectable. So we are within our limits. We are not going to the sort of unwholesome boundaries. We are not going to there, but we are in this wholesome boundary, wholesome area, wholesome domain. And then, so we are able to do that successfully to that person. And now we are going to the likable person. We are going to a lovable person. And to him also now we do loving kindness, and we are selecting many of them, and so that we are able to further develop such a loving kindness. Now we are getting more and more confident, and you feel really happy. So that is the other important thing. So this loving kindness meditation is a really positive type of a meditation where you feel more and more happy, more and more calm, more and more peaceful, and you feel sort of uplifted, and all of your sort of anger is eliminated temporarily. So likewise, there are many benefits that we'll actually discuss in the coming slides, and therefore this loving kindness meditation is basically recommended as a guardian meditation. Probably you might have heard there are 4 types of guardian meditations: Metta, Buddhanusati, Maranasati, and Asubha. Metta is the loving kindness, which today's subject. Then the Buddhanusati is the reflections on the Buddha that we sometimes ago we covered that. And then Maranasati is the reflection on death. And then the Asubha is the reflection on various loathsomeness aspects of the body. Now, loving kindness is extremely useful when our mind is in a little angry mood. Say, for example, you had some sort of an argument with someone, and at that time, and you become somewhat stressed and unhappy. So if you immediately come and try to meditate Anapanasati, mindfulness on breathing, it might not be really successful. But on the other hand, if you practice metta a little bit, slowly you spread metta to yourself, and then you recognize a person who is respectable, and you really have kind of a positive feeling, then to him that you spread metta, and then you slowly spread metta gradually, then you are completely settled. All your anger, all your resentment have gone. Now you can easily get on to mindfulness on breathing practice. So it's a kind of a strategy that we are using. And suppose that you are able to develop metta to this close people also, and now you can go for neutral people. It's a kind of a progressive stage. So that's what I mentioned. It's a kind of a gradual process. Now you are able to develop metta, spread metta, even to a neutral person. Suppose that you have seen someone while you are traveling, that he is not a friend, he is not an enemy, but he's a kind of a neutral person. That probably there may be various neighbors, and sometimes they are not that friendly, and they are not either unfriendly. So you find these people and you are able to spread metta. Now the point is, Now you are trying to get to the same level. You have to yourself you have metta, to a respectable person you have metta, and to a say close person you have metta, and even to this neutral person you can have metta. Now you are sort of equalizing or coming to a same amount of metta to many different groups of people. Typically what we have is, to ourselves we probably have kind of a metta or caring to some extent, and to another person we have taking care to another level, and to another person we have another level. So likewise we actually have certain boundaries. We certainly have different amounts of metta, different amounts of care to different people. But now with the loving kindness practice, we are trying to eliminate those differences. Now we have metta of the same amount to different groups. So the differences are now reducing, eliminated, and we are getting more and more loving friendliness in our heart developed, which is becoming more and more available. And then we can even apply it to the people that we don't like. Suppose there's a person that we don't like to see him, don't like to hear him. So even to such person, we can spread metta. So now, basically, we have broken the boundaries. We are able to spread metta to any person. There is no any kind of a boundary, any kind of a limitation in the selection of the people. Now we can even spread metta to a person that we don't like. So now that preconceived ideas have gone and our mind is in a really uplifted mood. So, and we can even find out different categories of beings, say to the animals, to the gods, celestial beings, and certain people in a different country. So we come into that as well. Now we can even spread metta to various directions. So that is the other enhancements that we can do in this practice. So we develop loving kindness to ourselves, and we have now able to develop loving kindness to everyone. And now we spreading metta to the every people, every being in front of us. Assume that we are sitting, and to the front direction we have limitless kind of a metta to everyone in the front direction. And once we are successful, we are developing metta or spreading metta to the people who are onto our right hand side. So onto the right hand side, we have a lot of metta to all the beings. There is no limitation. There is no any distinction. To everyone, same amount of metta we have. And to the people who are behind, or to the beings who are in the behind direction. So everyone in the behind direction, we are spreading metta. And to your left hand direction, we are developing metta. To the upper direction, we are developing metta, and to the lower direction, we are developing metta. So, you know, when we do like this, in a way, we are kind of completing a circle. We are in the front direction, we are having metta. We are able to develop metta. Onto the right hand direction, we are developing metta. To behind direction, we are developing metta. To the left hand direction, we are developing metta. So that completes the circle. Now, everywhere around yourself, you are able to develop metta. You are able to spread metta. Now we are adding the upper direction, and even to the upper direction we spread metta, and even to the lower direction we spread metta. Now what has happened? Now we are like a metta source. We are like a source of loving kindness. You know that there are, say, if we consider a light bulb, so it doesn't have any limitation in spreading the light. It illuminates everywhere. Say, if we consider the sun, so it has no any kind of a limitation to it emanates its light, its radiance to everywhere. So we also become a person, some kind of a source, which emanates metta to all the directions. There is no any kind of a boundary. So this is what we call as metta. Spreading metta to everyone, to all the directions, including ourselves. Don't leave yourself out. Rather, including yourself. Now you are like a source of metta. It's a very uplifting, entirely freedom of mind. This is a kind of a temporary freedom of mind that Buddha mentioned is so powerful, so interesting, and has many different benefits. So, and Buddha mentioned the benefits as well. There's another sutta called Metta-nisansa Sutta. So there Buddha mentioned 11 benefits. But in order to get those benefits, so you have to develop metta to the level that we have discussed. So you can't reach that state immediately. So slowly you have to do that. You are developing it daily and you are cultivating it. You are very much like making it like a vehicle to the any moment that you need, you can use it. So likewise, you are making it kind of a vehicle available to you. And then you are doing it again and again. You are quite confident with that, and you know what is metta, and you are sort of consolidated with it. And anytime you can undertake it. And for such a kind of a metta, Buddha mentioned there are 11 benefits. So what are them? So you can sleep well. Now these are in a way very practical type of benefits. All among these 11 benefits, 10 of them we can actually experience within this life. So it is not something that you are trying to get something in the future life, but in this very life, you can experience these benefits. So that is the beauty. Among these 11 benefits, only the 11th one is the after the kind of a benefit, but all the other 10 are benefits that you can experience within this life. Now, we all sometimes have certain sleeping disturbances, but if you develop metta, so you have that very positive, calm, tranquil atmosphere in yourself. So what the benefit, one important benefit is you can easily go to sleep, or you can go to sleep without any trouble, without any disturbance. And when you are awakens in the next day morning, that is also a kind of fresh awakening. You are not disturbed, you are not frightened because of kind of a nightmare that you are waking up. That is not like that. So you are very beautifully waking up, and your wake up is kind of a fresh experience, and you feel really comfortable because you had a very good sleep and your mind is not disturbed, and it went through a very good relaxing experience, and you feel really refreshed after this kind of a successful complete type of sleeping. So that is another benefit that Buddha mentioned. And then you may not go through any nightmares. You may not go through any sort of a bad experience during the sleeping time. You are not going through any kind of a troubling dream during the sleeping time. So you have a very peaceful type of sleep. That is the other benefit. And you become pleasing to the others. Now there are many friends, there are many other people, and if you are developing metta, so others may start to feel it even. I mean, they feel that this person is a kind of a positive person, this person is a lovable person, we can easily associate with him, so we can deal with him easily. So they have that positive feeling towards yourself, and therefore they start to, move with us without much friction. So you can also deal with them without much friction. So you become a kind of a pleasing person to the others. And not only that, and you being pleasing to the devas as well. So even now, there are sort of different forces available, and there are celestial beings, deities around us, and they also start to sort of please with you, and ultimately even they start to protect you. And that is the sixth benefit Buddha mentioned. So this is Buddha's words, just not my words. And there's another kind of a protective benefit that we are getting. Fire, poison, weapons do not injure ourselves. So there are various difficulties in our lives, and probably there are certain, say, natural disasters, and they can't really destroy you, or they can't really harm you, because you are kind of a different person now. And natural disasters sometimes may not harm you because you are being protected by the deities, and you are being protected by the nature, because you are not a friction to the whole nature. You are, on the other hand, you are becoming a blessing to the whole universe. You are like a metta source. You are like a loving kindness source. You have spreading metta to the whole universe. So the universe may start to protect you. And then whenever, if you want to further concentrate your mind, suppose now you want to concentrate your mind on breath, or rising and falling, or to your movements of the leg. So that can be easily conduct because your mind is happy. You are not with any kind of a trouble. Rather, you can quickly concentrate your mind. And then when you do this kind of meditation, your complexion becomes serene, your complexion become happy, because what you are doing from your heart is a very positive feeling. You are developing that. So that wholesome positive mentality actually being represented from your body as well. So your complexion become more beautiful, attractive, and your face become more attractive. And then you may be able to die unconfused. So that is the other benefit. Because sometimes when the death approaches, people getting really upset, and they become frightened, and they have a lot of regrets, and they have a lot of uncertainties, and they become really afraid of the death. But a person who has metta, who has developed to the Cheto Vimukti level, the freedom of mind level, so he is not that afraid, because so he is joining with the universe very much like. So therefore he can face death without much trouble, and therefore it is mentioned he may die unconfused with a lot of mindfulness. And on the other hand, if we haven't developed insight practice or vipassana practice and attained some magga phala, path fruition, that indicates that he only stricted his practice only to the samatha, to tranquility meditation, but didn't go to the vipassana meditation and go into the more wisdom practice. So that indicates he is more into a samatha type of meditator. So there is a disadvantage in that approach. But anyway, Buddha mentioned, if he didn't do vipassana meditation, if he didn't really cultivate insight practices, wisdom practices, even then, if he able to maintain that metta ceto vimukti, the freedom of mind to loving kindness, if he is able to maintain such ability, such skill, then the next life he will be reborn in the Brahma realms. Because metta ceto vimukti is so powerful, and it's very much even surpassing the jhana, and metta actually helps to attain the first jhana, second jhana, and third jhana, and the metta ceto vimukti is even surpassing that. So that is why the benefits are mentioned that one can have even after death. So among these 11 benefits, 10 you can experience within this life, and the 11th one actually you can experience after the death. Now, that's a very beautiful sutta most of you are familiar with. So that is the Metta Sutta or Karaniya Metta Sutta, most of us know like. So there, Buddha give a very beautiful sort of reference. What kind of metta one has to have to everyone. So there's a beautiful verse there. Metta yatha mata yathaniyam puttam ayusa eka puttam anubhakti. Evampi sabba bhutesu manasambhavaye aparimana. Just as a mother would protect her son, her only son, with her own life, so one should develop toward all beings a state of mind without boundaries. Now, this is the kind of a reference that Buddha has given. So like a mother who risking her life, protecting her only child. So now she's actually taking care of the child. She has that kind of a very strong loving kindness towards the child, towards the son. So such a kind of a loving kindness, Buddha say, let me have to all the beings, not only to my child, not only to my son, not only to my daughter, not only to my father, my friend, but to all the beings. So this is the kind of a reference that Buddha has given very beautifully in the Karaniya Metta Sutta or Metta Sutta, where one can have such a kind of a very beautiful, uplifting kind of a loving kindness. So with that, I like to conclude this Metta meditation presentation, and probably now we can get on to some practice. May you sit in a comfortable position so that we are getting to several minutes of practice. And actually, I can do loving kindness meditation today so that we are practically developing it and practically sort of experiencing it today itself. So may you sit in a comfortable position and you can keep your eyes gently closed. And you can relax yourself. I'm experiencing little rain, so probably it may be disturbing, but you can calm down yourself. There are little sounds you can hear. We don't have any kind of friction towards them, any resistance towards them. Rather, we can admit them, we can accept them. And all these sounds happen in the present moment. And they come and go. Now we can come to ourselves. So we are comfortably sitting. And our body is fairly satisfied. Our posture is quite comfortable. And internally, we feel happy and satisfied. And I have a wish. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. May I be free from suffering. So it's a kind of a genuine feeling that we have towards ourselves. So I am wishing myself well. I am wishing may I be happy. I am wishing may I be safe. I am wishing may I be free from all suffering. So we honestly do it. It's not just the lip service, just kind of honestly that we are spreading metta towards ourselves. And we are experiencing that positive feeling in ourselves. So it is kind of a happy feeling, a positive feeling, uplifting feeling. And you are losing all the friction. You are losing all the issues, troubles, and your face become relaxed. No tension. And you are feeling that calmness, happy peacefulness. And you are feeling confident. The body is in a very relaxed position. It is comfortable. And we are in a relaxed, comfortable state. Body and mind both are quite happy, confident. Both are in very good synchronization. Both are relaxed. And now we can select another person whom that we respect, and to him that we are spreading metta. Same amount of metta. He is in front of us. He is also feeling happy. He is also composed. And we are adding to that happiness. It's very much like we are touching from the head to toe. And as we are spreading metta from head to toe, he is becoming more and more comfortable, more and more satisfied, more and more happy. He is becoming more and more healthy because we are spreading genuinely metta towards him. So now there is no difference. The same amount of loving kindness we have to ourselves, now we can have metta to that person as well. Or the opposite. To that person, if we have a lot of metta, the same amount that we can have metta to ourselves. There is no any difference. Now we can select another person who we like. To that person also now we can develop metta. So he is also now included in the family, in the metta family. Slowly our mind is expanding. So all its narrow boundaries are slowly broken. And our metta is spreading to many different people. Now we are including neutral people whom we don't care much, but we don't even hate them. Even to them, we can have a lot of friendliness. They are also now included in our metta family, metta group. Now we are becoming more confident, more comfortable that we are including many people, many beings, all the beings. Now even to the people that we don't like, even to them we are spreading metta. And there is no one exempted. Everybody is included. To all the beings, we are spreading metta. May all the beings be well. May all the beings be happy. May all the beings be safe. And may all the beings be free from all types of suffering. So our mind has no boundary, no limitation. To all the beings, now we are spreading metta. Okay, now we can get back to the typical program again. First of all, I like to know if you have any question. So if you like to share your experience, we can spend a couple of minutes. And now we have actually around 28 participants, including myself. So if any one of you have any question, or if you like to share your experience, we can spend a couple of minutes. Yeah, please go ahead. Dhananjay has raised his hand. Probably you can unmute. You can talk. Yes.
Oh, my respected Bante, I have a question regarding the difference between mindfulness and kindfulness. Recently, I read a book from this Ajahn Brahmavansa. What he has said is mindfulness, if you add the kindness, it becomes kindfulness. Is there a difference between kindfulness and mindfulness?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So basically, we start with mindfulness and we can bring kindness, loving kindness, say altruistic joy and compassion can be included into the mindfulness practice. Actually, if you refer certain articles, even certain research articles that people are developed or sort of published, so there you may understand empathy is one of the benefit of the development of mindfulness. So whenever you are developing mindfulness, you start to feel about yourself. The self-awareness is improved. And as you are moving forward, you can even understand your own emotions, various kinds of feelings that you have. So when you are able to recognize your various feelings, various moods, various different mind states, so that helps us to more understand about ourselves and accordingly calm down ourselves. If we get agitated, we can calm down ourselves. And again, we start to feel about another person even. So that is a kind of an advantage in the mindfulness practice. So it improves self-awareness, and again it improves it helps us to understand our own emotions. And at the same time, now we can even recognize another person. So what are his feelings? What are his emotions? What is his mind state? So it is not through any kind of a clairvoyance or in such kind of a very extremely deep practice, but rather through inferentially, you start to feel that this person is in a good mood, this person is in a happy mood, this person is in a bad mood, he's in a bad situation. So you start to feel, and through his face, through his behavior, and you may start to start to recognize him very well. So therefore, interpersonal relationships starts to develop. You can maintain relationships for a long time without disturbing them. So that indicates you are having sort of empathy towards everyone. Whenever someone is suffering, whenever someone is in trouble, you start to feel it, and you can look at the problem in his shoes. So that is the empathy that we develop through, say, mindfulness practice. So that actually we can further enhance even to the kindness. We can further enhance to the compassion. So like we did today, so we can purposely add loving kindness. We can purposely add kindness or compassion. So that becomes, at the beginning, when you are adding it, it is somewhat like artificial, because sometimes we don't have that amount of metta, even though we develop metta and we are trying to spread metta to the whole universe, but internally we don't really feel it. But again and again, when you are doing it, so your mind recognizes its beauty. Your mind start to appreciate that loving kindness, because it is so uplifting, and all the friction, any kind of negativity you had start to disappear, and the mind start to recognize it, mind starts to appreciate it, and later it becomes kind of a normal thing. It becomes kind of a natural thing. It is no more an artificial or kind of a projected thing, but rather it becomes your own nature. So similarly, the mindfulness practice helps us to have our own awareness, self-awareness, and understanding about more about ourselves, and even to understand about another person. So that helps us to understand their sort of state of mind. And if they are in the trouble, that we start to feel it, we become empathetic towards them. And even onto that, if we add compassion, so now it becomes very well blended, very well mixed up, and we have more positive atmosphere in the mind. We can even help another person. Now, the beauty is we include ourselves. I mean, it does not have any kind of a bad effect onto ourselves. Rather, we can include ourselves and include the other person as well. Sometimes what happens is some people, so they are kind to the others while they are hating themselves, while they are not comfortable with themselves. Rather, the real practice is including yourself. You are compassionate to everyone. Now, even in the development of the mindfulness, this compassion or kindness is included, because when you are starting to develop, say, mindfulness, our mind is go in various directions. I mean, you can't really concentrate on where you want, because mind is not tamed. And so you need a lot of compassion to tame it. Because if you simply give it up, if you start to hate yourself, thinking that I am not going to develop this mindfulness, I can't do it successfully, this mind is going here and there, I will never be able to succeed. So likewise, if you have kind of a negative feeling yourself, you can't do it. But on the other hand, you have to be compassionate to yourself, kind to yourself. So let me accept my shortcomings. Let me try again. When your mind is distracted, you are compassionate to yourself. You are kind to yourself rather than sort of trying to punish yourself. So there also you can apply this kindness. So while developing mindfulness, all those even initial stages, you can add kindness to that, to this mindfulness practice. Even when the mind gets distracted, you can develop kindness. So let me carefully bring it back. Let me not have any kind of a resentment because of this distraction, any kind of an anger because of distraction. Let me carefully bring it back. Let it distracted for a while. I mean, I can wait till it become sort of awakened. So once it is established mindfulness, let me carefully bring it back with some kindness. Because when we have that kind of a very delicate kind of kindness incorporated into mindfulness practice, then these two practices go hand in hand. So therefore, I feel kindness can be included in the mindfulness practice. And again, you can have Brahma Viharas included into the mindfulness practice. And then it's kind of a win-win kind of a situation. So you are developing mindfulness as well as the various other positive qualities in your mind. Yeah, very good question. So anyone else you like to contribute? Actually, we have, yeah.
Bhante, I have a question, so as you mentioned, so basically we can practice metta, during our, day-to-day activities as well. As an example, like, if someone is hungry and you offer that person food, and that time, can we basically practice metta, saying that, thinking, okay, with this food, that his hunger will goes away and it makes him happy, like that too?
Definitely. I mean, there is no any particular limit telling that this particular moment we should not practice metta. I mean, every time we can practice metta. Now, one important thing is, so I mean, this, as you know, produces a lot of positive feeling in our mind. So we should not limit ourselves only to that, by the way, because sometimes the loving kindness meditation giving us a lot of happiness, a lot of satisfaction, contentment, probably we might avoid going beyond that. So that is also we should not do. That's why Buddha mentioned in the benefits. So if one is not penetrated towards the vipassana, not penetrated towards the insightful practice, then his benefits are limited. But on the other hand, if one can use loving kindness as a base for his vipassana practice, so then you are using loving kindness as a kind of a prerequisite or kind of a foundation to your vipassana practice. So that is also possible because Metta Cheto Vimutti, or the freedom of mind through loving kindness, is a very strong foundation to practice vipassana. You are able to maintain your mind in a very unconditioned kind of a nature. At that time, you are now trying to look at the mind. You allow mind to freely wander if it likes. Then you are trying to recognize what are the traits, personality traits in this mind yet. Because the freedom of mind that the loving kindness produces is very temporary. It is not a kind of a lasting kind of a freedom. So in order to have sort of a lasting freedom, you need to include wisdom. So you need to understand more deeply about how these conditioned phenomena are working, and you need to understand those need to understand the sort of disadvantages of this conditioned world. As a result of that, you can develop more wisdom, and when the wisdom is coupled with mindfulness, the loving kindness, then it is going in a more comfortable path. There's another interesting sutta called that's also called Metta Sutta. There are also Buddha mentioned that even Bojjhangas, Bojjhanga is another very advanced quality that Buddha recognized or that we come across in the Vipassana practice. So Buddha mentioned even when you are developing Bojjhanga, you can sort of associate that development with loving kindness. It's a kind of an interesting way that Buddha explained. Now, sometimes when we are practicing Vipassana, sometimes you might feel a little dry because it is, always looking at the impermanence. You are recognizing the unsatisfactory nature of various phenomena, and they are not governable and they are beyond our control. There is no essence. So sometimes mind might lead to kind of a dry feeling. On such situation, we might feel little lethargic and little discouraged to continue. But if we have loving kindness mixed, so it is very much like when you have rice and curry, there is no much appetite. Then you are adding a little bit of something, then you get you get an appetite and you are able to have your meal. So something like that. So you need to have a meal, otherwise you become hungry. So you become so weak. But in order to have a meal, you are having a little, some kind of an appetite. So similarly, you can add a little bit of metta to the vipassana practice. Then you can have a very comfortable vipassana practice as well. So loving kindness, therefore, Buddha recommend, if you like, you can mix when you are developing even the bojjhangas, the enlightenment factors. Yeah. Actually, we can even discuss another session on those, some advanced aspects of how to incorporate loving kindness even to the vipassana practice. Because today, actually, this program, I feel like we are more oriented towards the young children. So that's why I want to sort of keep it to the very basics of basics. But of course, there are many sides that we can discuss when we are discussing vipassana and associating metta towards that, how we can integrate both these and get the benefits. Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, I think then we have come to the conclusion. Probably Shalika, make any announcements if you have, and you can conclude the session.
Yeah, actually, I just want to remind you about our next session. Our next session is going to be Spiritual Family Night, and it's going to be held on Friday, September 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I just want to say, so much merits to you, Bhante, for the wonderful, sermon, and you gave us so much insight into how we can practice metta and into a deeper level. So, and also thank you so much for all of you for joining with us today, and hope to see you in 2 weeks. May all be well, happy and peaceful.
Yeah, Teruvan Sarnai. Teruvan Sarnai.
Teruvan Sarnai, Bhante.